Right, good morning everyone. Thank you very much for coming, as I try very desperately to dress up. So my name's Amit Sinha, and with Helen Hancox, my colleague here, we're going to be talking about APIs and microservices. Why are they so hard? Why is it that it's really, really, really difficult to get to this utopia? Why is it that not many people are able to do it? We're going to be talking about that, about our experience and what we think is a start of 10 to allow people to adopt these. So as I said, we'll be talking about APIs coming in all shapes and sizes, and that's going to be Helen. We'll be talking about what organizations do, and finally I'll be giving some advice on what I think we need to do in order to get started. By way of introduction, my name's Amit Sinha, as I just mentioned. I'm a senior manager in our Accenture UKI practice. I look after parts of our engineering practice. Shameless plug, please do follow me on Twitter. There is an internal challenge to try and get as many people to follow you on Twitter as possible, and I figured this was the best way to do it. What I'll do is I won't introduce Helen. I'll let Helen introduce herself, and I'll hand over the switch to yourself, Helen. Thank you.
Hey everybody. So as Amit said, I'm going to take you through kind of the APIs and kind of the terms that we're using nowadays. By way of an introduction, so I'm a manager at Accenture. Again, like Amit, I'm from our engineering practice, and I'm currently working on a project where I am fighting to try and do some of the stuff that we're talking about today. So the term microservices is being used a lot nowadays. We're all aware of the term. We all know that it's important to kind of modern day application engineering. And it's been talked about in all aspects of our businesses, from our developers through to our architects to our senior technology leadership, but not just in the technology side, in the business side as well. But the terms that we're using are generally overloaded. I find when I'm talking to colleagues and clients about microservices, actually, we think it's going to solve everything from the common, simple problem to world peace. But really, is it? So before we go and have a look in depth into what microservices, from conversations I've had with people, what we think the term microservices encompasses, I wanted to get a bit of a view from the audience in the room. You guys all work with them, I'm hoping, assuming. So we're going to go around with the mic, just get a couple of you to give us kind of your view on what the terms API microservices means to you. So do we have any volunteers? This is where nobody volunteers.
Anyone brief?
Helen will start picking people.
Brief description.
There we go. One. Excellent. Yeah, when Amit says I'll start picking people, I'll pick somebody from the side in a minute.
They got the ability to scale individually.
Okay, so scaling, yep.
It's a small, idempotently deployable service with a bounded context.
Anybody from this side of the room? Come on, we have to have a brave soul somewhere.
One left side.
That will do one. Just one more. Yeah, there's one. One brave soul.
Applications with a narrowly defined function with defined inputs and outputs.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. So we've had 3 different opinions and 3 different views on what a microservice means to them. So in conversations that I have with my colleagues, we can see that actually the term microservice has become a synonym for lots of different things. So when we're having these sort of discussions, we're talking about DevSecOps. We're also talking about kind of service-orientated architectures. Automation. The keynote this morning was all about APIs and automation. We're talking about delivering in an agile way, continuous delivery, continuous integration. Cloud computing. Most people will try and build microservices in the cloud, but obviously that's not a given. Containerization. We just had discussions using Docker and Kubernetes. Microservices itself, so having small, identifiable pieces of applications, as we said, rather than a big, large monolith. APIs, application programming interfaces, they're being used generally in a kind of interchangeable way, but they are different concepts, as we'll see in a minute. And also cloud native, moving everything to the cloud. And actually, when I'm having conversations with people I work with, my clients and my colleagues, these are all the kinds of things that are included when we're actually talking about microservice. So you might think, okay, there's lots of different things there. And actually, the NIST definition, oh, hang on, wrong one, that way. So this itself also says that we're causing considerable confusion amongst those who attempt to explain it. That's because there's so many different things that we're all talking about. And this can lead to us having, if you're talking to somebody else about a microservice, you could actually get 2 different implementations just because we're talking about lots of different things. So I just wanted to take a moment to look at the difference between kind of the microservice and the APIs. As I said earlier, they're kind of used interchangeably quite a lot, but actually they are kind of different concepts. So the microservice is a kind of architectural pattern, whereas an API is more around kind of the library function that has the well-defined syntax and is a gateway into our business. So now, the question, so how do our organizations start with building microservice and API architectures? And I'm going to hand myself back to Amit.
Thanks, Helen. So as Helen mentioned, microservices is far more than just the actual simply defined service itself. It's become this synonym for so many different things. And what that means is actually different members of your team have to take this entire approach. They have to adopt this entire approach. And they have to understand the culture behind the approach. It will help you not only gain the monetary benefits that Utopia the Utopia vision provides you, but it'll also give you that cutting edge, and it's important that everyone from your business analysts in delivery teams through to your architects, through to your engineers, through to your test, DevOps, and even the program leadership all understand and buy into this concept. When I've been on different clients, I think I broadly put clients starting with microservices into sort of 4 different categories. Now, not everyone does this, to be clear, but broadly speaking, I think there are about 4 different categories for people who are trying to start on microservices. So there's the cynics of us. It's the whole nothing's changed. This is just another name for an existing paradigm. It's just application development at the end of the day. There's nothing different about it. There's analysis paralysis. So actually, this sounds great. I really, really want to do it. I'm going to go do a POC. After I've done my POC, where do I go? What do I do? How do I apply that POC to how do I apply that to my business? Where do I start going? What do I do there? So analysis paralysis is another area that I've seen some people get stuck in. Just do it. Actually, it's a relatively simple concept. It's a concept that you break your application down into functional bits. Let's just go and do it. Let's just start. Don't worry about anything else. Let's just go. And I've seen quite a few organizations actually just take the plunge and day one tell all of their development teams, microservices, APIs, that broken down architecture, that loosely coupled architecture is where we're going to go. And then finally, there are clients that sort of take it step by step and actually trying to try starting off with a POC. They look at what areas of the business could potentially be suitable for this sort of thing, and then they move on. Now, to be clear, each one of these possibly apart from nothing has changed, each one of these is not necessarily a bad thing. Even if you've gone into sort of analysis paralysis, you're doing so much analysis that by the time you do get started and you do get a bit of a push, you will have a full understanding as to which parts of your business can adopt this and which parts of your business maybe can't. So finally, I wanted to end with a couple of suggestions. So this is the start for 10 on what we try to tell our clients, what I actively try to tell my clients on a day-to-day basis, on how to get started with this paradigm and how to go about going on this journey. Because at the end of the day, it is a journey, and it's not just a one-time thing. So for people who are genuinely starting off afresh, I ask them to choose the use case carefully. Choosing the right use case can enable you to actually have far more success. Choosing the wrong use case will give you the opposite. Will give you the opposite approach. And I think taking a bit of time to choose where you're going to do that and where you're not is key. Agile. Building microservices on their own requires you to, enables you rather, to actually be delivering functionality and value in iterations. But if you've got a waterfall process, all that value comes right at the very end. So Agile is a key component to being able to deliver that value, that monetization, and to deliver that functionality piece by piece. DevSecOps, we all talk about it. I think it's still very important to enable that rapid development, to understand the culture behind DevSecOps, and to provide that tooling layer with cloud computing to actually enable you to very quickly deploy new bits of functionality that your development teams have just delivered. Testing, I think this is a big one. This is actually something that's going on in my current client as well. Testing, you need to change your mindset when you're thinking about testing. Consumer-driven contract testing is key, because you're now, instead of your application doing absolutely everything, you've got a small component that's talking to another component, and you need to make sure that those contracts are correct. In our traditional world, it would be test absolutely everything. And changing that mindset of our test engineers to really think about this in a very different way is key to success. And then finally, operations. The operations guys are typically the ones that are left till the very end. They're the ones that we sort of throw things over the wall to, and that needs to break down. That's alongside DevSecOps. It needs to break down, and we need to be bringing our operations teams on the journey with us, and we need to enable our operations teams to take the functionality as we deliver and deploy it to production, with support from development teams if they are separate. But we need to make sure that happens. So that's my starter for 10. And that is the end of our presentation. Thank you very much.